everyone, it's your girl Janae Barros, aka Naya Banks on Instagram. Welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a story time. I get a lot of questions about how I moved out of Colorado, which is where I'm from. If you haven't watched the 25 facts about me, please go watch it. So I just want to really just get right into this video because I don't want it to be super long. I have a lot of tea, a lot of receipts, and a lot of drama. So let's just get into it. So in March 2019, I was looking at 3 felonies for distribution, and I decided to take a plea, which was a deferred felony. At the time, I was living with my friend, and I went to jail over the weekend, but I had to bail myself out. So I call up my dad, and I'm like, hey, can you get my stashed money from in my room at my friend's house? That way I could bail myself out and get myself out by Monday. So he does. He gets the money. I get bailed out. I come out on Monday. I don't tell anybody anything. Well, my friend and the other roommates that were living in that house, that I was out. So I get back to the house. I wanted just to be like, surprise, like I'm out. And it just didn't happen that way. I go into my room and the whole dresser that my friend had let me borrow was gone. So I was like, right away I go straight for my jar of change. I had $400 worth of change in there and it was gone. So long story short with that, we ended up getting into a huge fight and whatnot, and I'm like, at this point I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I have nowhere to go because I'm obviously not going to stay here with her and continue to pay bills and be a team with her. Like, there's just no way that I'm going to let somebody steal from me and continue on living with her. So I hit up my dad and I'm like, hey, can I stay with you just until I get back on my feet? I'm not trying to stay there like for a long ass time. I'm just trying to get my own place because I already know how it goes with my dad when I live with him. So the last thing I wanted to do was go stay with him. He's been kicking me out since I was 16. I was always in and out. And not only that, he had just got married to this girl within a month on Facebook. So I'm like, of course I'm not trying to like invade. And plus she was my age, and in high school I met her one time and I ended up kissing her. So I never talked to her after that, but I just did not want things to be like weird, you know what I mean? At the time I worked at IHOP and they would always come in and eat and I'd hook them up and all that, and we already talked about that, and like it was like whatever, like it was, we didn't even really know each other like that. We only met each other once, so it was like whatever. But it was just the fact that like they were newlyweds, like they barely knew each other, and I just didn't even want to do it anyway. But I just felt like I had to because I had nowhere to go, you know? So whatever, he lets me stay, and at first everything was going smooth. It was the beginning of April. It was my dad, his wife, my brother, me, and my youngest sister, Zanila. And then May rolls around, and then my dad starts noticing cops. Like, when he's doing his thing, he starts noticing the cops would be there or like roll by. And then I started noticing drones around the house. Mind you, I wasn't doing anything at this point because I am on probation for a deferred felony. So I just like was like, these drones have to be the cops. Next thing I know, I go on Facebook and I see an article about cops using drones. So I texted to my dad. I'm like, yo, like, you need to be careful. And plus, at the same time, while all this is going on, we have the dog catchers coming at the house all the time, leaving notices. And then he had court with his baby mama for my youngest sister, Zanila, because her mom had kidnapped her from school. So then he had to deal with that, and like all of this shit is piling up at once, right? But things go on. June rolls around and one of the dogs had puppies because he had like 10 dogs. So when they would have puppies, I would take care of them. By the way, I feel the need to explain each month of what went down because like I said in the beginning, I was not trying to stay there that long at all. That was not the plan. Of course, plans don't always work out how you plan it in your head. Okay, so anyways, one day I'm driving and I get a phone call. So I answer it and I'm like, hello, and it is the police. And they're telling me that I need to go get my sister Zanila from the house because if not, she's gonna get taken away. And my heart drops. So immediately I fly over to the house, and when I pull up, I see mad cop cars. The garage is open, all the cars are open, and I'm like, fuck, we are getting raided. So I'm just like in shock. The only thing I'm worried about is getting Zanila out of there and out of that situation, because the last thing I want to happen to her is for her to go to foster care like I had to when I was younger. So I grab her, I go to my other brother's house, Aaron, and when I get over there, I get another phone call from the cop, from the same cop that told me whatever she said when I picked up Zanila. I'm like, I already know that I'm about to go to jail too, because of the fact that I have a room there, and on my probation I said that I was living with my grandma. So because of the fact that they're getting raided at the house and it has all these things in the house, I know I'm about to go to jail. So I pick up the phone and the cop tells me to go back to the house. So I tell my brother, I'm like, I'm probably more than likely gonna go to jail. I ended up telling them where my money was and to get ready to help us bail out and stuff like that. So I go back to the house, and sure enough, I get arrested too. So it was me, my dad's wife, my dad that all got arrested. The reason my brother didn't get arrested is because he didn't have no record or anything or proof that he was doing anything. The reason why I went to jail that time is because there was a shoebox with my ID in it and mushrooms in it. Because of that, they took me to jail. Each of our bonds was like $100,000 plus. My dad's was like $300,000 or something crazy like that. And my brother, the one that lived with us, and my grandpa are the ones that helped us get bailed out. I put up $6,000 to bail all of us out, but honestly, at that moment in time, I didn't even care. As long as we were all out, that's all I cared about. Well, it didn't even last long until my dad and his wife went back to jail because of new evidence, which was the ARs, the guns. So they went back to jail, and I had to get on house arrest. So I go to my grandma's on house arrest, and I was on the ankle monitor for like a month or two, but that ended up getting dismissed because I took it to trial, and because my ID that was in that shoebox was a old voided out ID. I had a new updated ID on me, so they couldn't prove that that shoebox or shrooms was mine. But mind you, I'm still on a deferred felony from the previous time. So that continues. I'm still on probation. So that's really like the only thing that changed, and I got off the ankle monitor. So right away I go back to the house and go where my brother was. And I had a whole spiritual awakening, like a life-changing experience when I was on the ankle monitor. I did not want us hustling anymore. I'm like, this is not the life that we should be living. We should be doing things legally. I'm like, let's, get some goals. I want to build a business, and let's do this the legal way. So I take my brother to the store, get him a notebook, and I already had my notebook, so I'm just like, here's my notebook, this is what I've been writing down, this is what I'm doing, and it's really like changing. I want us all to do this. We would go to Liberty Point, which was like the nicest view in town, and we would speak things into existence. We would pray, we would write things in our notebook down, setting goals, what we wanted to do for our future. Then my dad's wife gets out next, and I do the same thing with her. I get a notebook for her. We go to Liberty Point, do the same thing, and everyone is feeling it. Everyone is on the same page. Like, nobody wants to hustle no more after, like, we all just went to jail, you know what I mean? And so I get us a huge whiteboard so we could write on and have things planned for the month. So I put it in the living room, and then my dad ends up getting out in September, and then of course I do the same thing with him. But he was on the ankle monitor, so we could no longer go to Liberty Point. So we just started doing this at the house. And my other brother Aaron and his girlfriend Erica would come over and do the same thing with us. So everything's like going good again. Everyone is, you know, in the right space, in the right state of mind. Everyone's agreeing. My brother's girlfriend, Erica, started a group chat with us, which we called ourselves the Billionaires. And on there, I would create meetings for us. I'd be like, hey, the meeting's today, and let's all meet up, let's plan, let's work. So what we started to do was sell t-shirts. I had folded and packaged the t-shirts, but at that moment in time I wasn't really like thinking too much of it. I was just excited. I was hype. I'm like, we're gonna do this, like we're really gonna build something for ourselves. I even got my dad's wife a job with me at IHOP. Things started getting fucked up for me is when my dad mentioned for us to keep hustling. I'm like, why would we do that? This is the whole point of why we are doing what we're doing with the shirts and these meetings. That's why we're doing this. Why would we go back to hustling? Why would we backtrack? We just got out of jail. And I'm mad, you know what I mean? I'm upset. And he's just like, well, we need the money. Like, the cops took all his money. I put up all my money. So now we don't have no money. And me and the wife are the only ones actually working. So I'm just like, I don't want to hand things out. And he was like, that's fine. Well, my brother, like I said, he didn't get caught with anything. So he was the one gonna hand things out, and I would just drive. I agreed on it only because he said there was just this much left, and once that's done, then he's gonna hang up the hustling. So I'm like, you know what? He's not wrong. We do need the money, and if this is all that we need to sell that's left, let's do it. So he talked me into that one. So I ended up going to work at IHOP, getting off of work, driving around with me and my brother. My dad's on the ankle, and the wife is working at IHOP with me. But then I noticed that I was the only one starting to do the most work, because I go to my 9-to-5 job, I get off, I'm driving around all day, I'm selling these t-shirts, I'm selling even though I'm not wanting to, and on top of it, everyone's like not getting excited anymore about the meetings. I'm posting, hey, meetings today, and nobody shows up anymore. No one's, like, everyone starts to get unmotivated ever since, you know, the hustling came back up. And so I'm like hurt with that. We had even planned on doing bath bombs, and we ordered them, and I tried to make a couple, but I was just like over it, because I'm like, I'm not gonna be the only one doing this. Why am I the only one? Like, there's 4 adults in the house. But then my dad gets a job. I'm like, let's get these bills paid the legal way. Let's get back to work, get back to these meetings. But then once my dad gets a job, his wife starts calling off work left and right. I'm like, bro, what? Then she's getting caught up talking to her ex-boyfriend. These pictures came up from her ex-boyfriend that was posted of her son. I'm sorry, this next part is going to be very graphic. I did blur things out because it's just a lot. So I'm feeling some type of way at this point. For real. I'm feeling very aggy. Nobody's showing up to the meetings. Nobody's selling t-shirts. She's not working no more, always calling off. The house was always dirty as fuck unless I started to clean it. I wasn't expecting the boys to clean it spotless, but the thing is I just wanted them to take out the trash or like get a help around here, you know what I mean? And then I find myself running my dad's and his wife's errands with my brother. I'm like, I've had it. What is going on? And all they were doing was laying down and blaming it on my dad's ankle monitor, that they couldn't do anything, they couldn't go anywhere, and he has work. So I'm like, you get where my frustration is coming from at this point, right? It's just like building up. So I talked to my brother because it was always me and him, me driving and him in the passenger seat. So I'm telling him how I feel, and I feel like I'm just done with everything. And he says like he feels the same way. He feels like he's the one that's always doing the work because while I'm at my 9-to-5 job, he's doing their errands and hustling. It's like he has no time for himself either. So I'm like, this is what we need to do. We need to sit down with them and communicate about it and get through this. Like, it's an easy fix, you know? While we're talking about this in the car, we go on Facebook and see that she's pregnant. And I'm just like, what? Like, that's like mad disrespectful to not tell us. Why do we have to find out this way through Facebook? I mean, granted, they did get married and that's how everyone found out about it on Facebook. They didn't even know they were together, but still. The point is times are different now, you know? At least be generous enough and courteous enough to let us know, like, hey, we're having a baby. I know times are tough right now, but it is what it is. This is what's gonna happen. I would've been like, okay, cool. But no, like, that's how we find out about it? That's mad disrespectful. And this was in December of 2019. So I'm like mad hurt about that. And my brother is feeling the same way. Like, why would they tell all these randoms before us? Like, you think that those randoms care more than our own sister that we're gonna be having? Like, yo, that's mad weird. Then she ends up texting me. She's like, hey, that she feels stuck. And now that she's pregnant, she feels stuck. And she had already told my brother that before while she was in jail, that she was feeling stuck with my dad. I'm like, whoa, this is going like way too far. Like, I don't know why she would feel comfortable telling me that, but like at the end of the day, that's my dad. Like, what do you mean you feel stuck? And now you're gonna have a baby? So I'm like, we just need to conversate. We need to sit down with them, tell them how we feel, and just, you know, let it pass. This stuff could be conversated. So we go back to the house, we sit down with them. It's me, my brother, she's over there on the bed, and my dad is right in front of me. But his back was towards us because he was rolling up or whatever. I don't know. But we just tell him how we feel. Pretty much everything that I mentioned. That I just wanted them to clean. I wanted them to at least try to sell some shirts. I wanted the wife to show up to work and not always call off. I don't think that's fair. Like, I'm the one that got her the job and now she's not showing up. And it's like, me and my brother shouldn't be having to hustle. My dad wasn't even hearing anything me and my brother had to say. We were literally saying the same thing, crying, pouring our hearts out, and the wife agreed on me and my brother on something that we said. He just turns around and was like, you're weird, you're weird, you're weird, and you don't even do anything. So I'm like, I had it. I was like, you know what? I gotta go. Like, I put a date, just a random date to throw out there that I'm gonna be moving to Denver. Like, I can't do this forever. I want to move to Denver. That was the whole plan for us, to renovate the house, sell it, or rent it out, and move to Denver together. But because, like, you're not understanding where I'm coming from, and it's just simple things, and nobody wants to be a team, I cannot stay here and do this any longer. So he gets all mad or whatever, and I walk out the room. I'm just like, I've had it. I can't explain something to somebody that doesn't want to listen or doesn't want to understand. So I'm waiting in the car because we have to go. Like, mad people are waiting on us. And my brother stays in the room for like 5-10 minutes, and he comes out, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what was said when I left? And he was like, yeah, dad was saying that he gets where he's coming from, but he doesn't understand where I'm coming from. I'm like, okay, how does that even make sense? We're sitting right next to each other saying the same thing, but okay, I'm ready for Denver. I'm ready to go. The days go on. The tension in the house was unbearable. It was awkward. It was weird. and still nothing had changed. Even though it was said things would change, still nothing changed. So literally a week after our talk, I'm just feeling mad uncomfortable and mad weird, because it's like I would be in the living room and my brother would go in the room and go talk to them and they'd be all cool with him, but I was the one being left out. And I'm like, why is no one talking to me? Why is my dad and his wife being weird with me, but they're cool with my brother? Why am I being the one left out? So second week comes after our talk, and I'm just at work doing my thing, and I'm just getting this weird intuition feeling that my brother was being fake with me. Like, it's weighing heavy on me. And I'm like, why am I thinking this? Like, why do I feel this? Like, I don't want to think this. So my brother picks me up from work, and when he picks me up, there's a song playing about fake family. And I'm just like, is this coincidental? Because I was just thinking about this all day. So I don't even say anything to him when I get in the car. I just drive to my grandma's because I had to go pick up a package, and I get back in the car after picking up the package, and he's like, yo, what's wrong with you? And I was like, nothing. Because in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to just like, yo, like, you're being fake. What's up? Like, no, I wanted to come off in a way that wasn't going to hurt his feelings. So I'm just like, we could talk about this later. And he was like, no, let's talk about it now. He's just like pressing it. He's like, tell me. So I'm like, you really want to know? He was like, yes. So I tell him, I said, I'm sorry. Please don't be mad at me, but I feel like you've been being fake with me. And he was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Why? So I tell him the sneak dissing on Facebook, the song when I got in the car, and a lot of the fake traits that he was showing me within the last 2 weeks. So of course, I didn't want to happened. We get into a small little argument. We go back home and he just texts me, and now the fight is on Instagram. And he was like, you just need to smoke and go to bed. You just need to smoke and go to bed. So I'm like, all right, you're right. Maybe I just need to smoke and go to bed. So that's what I do. Our rooms are right next to each other. So it was just us in the house. I wake up to a long paragraph from him telling me that he doesn't know why I'm feeling that way, that I shouldn't be, that he loves me, and he would never be fake with me. And I'm still feeling the same way. Bruh, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to think this way, but I cannot shake this feeling. I'm sorry. I still feel the same way. And he just flips out. He's calling me every name in the book. Like, I'm already feeling down because of everything else that's going on in the house. And now he's putting me down and calling me names and shit, like saying that, oh, I'm too fat to travel, and because he knows that was my goal, to start traveling again. And all the blue check mark people that I've been talking to, I'm not even gonna meet them in real life because I always ask him what I should say. Bro, I thought I could confide in you. I thought I could go to you and be like, yo, look who hit me up. Like, what should I say? Yo, like, that's fucked up, you know what I mean? I'm crying, I'm hurt, I'm emotional. I feel like the lowest of low at this point. He's getting me like all these emotions inside, and I'm getting mad. So I know this is wrong. I do. I own up to it, but I was like, how could I make him mad? How can I make him feel the way I'm feeling? And the only thing I could think of is telling him that I was going to tell his baby mama that he's still hustling, because he was going to be going to court, well, trying to go to court to get custody of my niece, his daughter. I knew he was going to get mad, so I got up and I locked the door, and I texted him. I said, I'm going to tell your baby mama that you're still hustling. And to me, I would have thought that like he would know that I was talking out of my ass, because of the fact that me and his baby mama did not get along. Me and her at that point in time did not like each other, didn't ever talk to each other, nothing. We actually had each other blocked on everything. So I thought he would just like be like, whatever, shut up. But at the same time, I knew he was gonna get mad. And I know I should have just like been the bigger person and what should have just like, whatever, I'm moving to Denver and just move on. But I just had all these emotions going on at that point. And so when I sent it to him, he got up. I could hear him get up off of his bed, and he knocked on the door, he didn't like knock, he like slammed on the door. Like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? And I just like looked over at the door and he knocked it down. He tore the door down and came at me and started. I already knew what that meant because it wasn't the first time that he's done something like this. Sorry. But he comes at me and I'm like stood up fast because I was getting prepared, and he just like chokes me out. And once he was done choking me out and hitting me, he left. So I'm like, I have work. I just go in the shower and I wash myself up. And I'm like, there's no way I could go to work like this. There's just no way. So I grab a little bag and I go to my best friend's house that lived down the street. I tell her everything that just happened, and I go to my job and I'm like, hey, I'm not like in a working situation right now, and now I can't stay there. Things have just gotten so bad that I just like, I'm not going to stay in that house anymore. And getting mistreated by everybody that was supposed to be my team, and I just can't do it. I'm just like the lowest of low at that point. And this was January 7th of 2020. So this was the beginning of the year. I didn't hear from anybody. I thought like maybe like somebody would text me and like check up on me, like especially like my dad. But I get a text message from my dad's wife, and she was like, yo, I thought if you had a problem you would tell me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, everything that I had a problem going on with, like, you personally, I already told you that. During the talk, I already told you what was wrong. All I wanted you to do was show up to work and clean. What happened with me and my brother just now had nothing to do with you. And she was like, okay, and she stopped texting me. So I'm like, maybe, you know, it is what it is, like whatever. But then an hour later, I get a phone call from her. So I'm like, maybe she wants to talk about this over the phone. And she's crying. And I'm like, yo, are you okay? And she was like, no, that my dad had just put his hands on her and choked her out. I'm like, bro, we just found out she's pregnant. I just get hit, and then my dad goes and does that to her. I'm just like, yo, like, can we meet up? Can just me and you talk? Like, let's smoke, let's talk about this. So she's like, all right, bet, like, let's meet up. So the next day she hits me up. So we meet up and we talk about everything, about me telling my brother that I felt like he was being fake with me, and she pretty much said, was like, yeah, that's pretty much how he was being, like, towards them too, though. Not just me, it was also towards them, because it was like he was trying to see which grass was greener on the other side. So he would go to them, talk to them and be cool, not necessarily talk shit about me, but he would just be like, oh, like, if it would work better with them, then he's gonna go with them. He was just playing both sides of the fence, is exactly what he was doing. So I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. I know that when my intuition tells me something, I listen, and this is why. So we talk it out, whatever. She goes back to the crib, and then I go back to my friend's house, and I still didn't hear from anybody after that. But I did tell her to let me know when my brother wasn't around. That way I could go get the rest of my stuff from my room. So I asked her on January if I could go get my stuff, because it was kind of taking long. So I was like, yo, can I go get my things? And then she was like, I'll let you know, whatever. So then I end up asking my dad if I could go over there and go get my stuff. During this time, I had heard from a family member that my dad had said that I deserved to get my ass beat because I was being a bitch lately. Of course I was. Like, hello, I think anybody would. But anyways, didn't mention any of that to him. I didn't say a word to anybody. So then February 5th comes along, which is my birthday, and my brother hits me up for the first time, and he tells me happy birthday and that he loves me. And I respond, thank you, I love you too. And that was it. Then on the 22nd, my dad's wife hits me up asking about her W-2s and asks if I'm doing good. And then March rolls around and whoo! Child who remembers March 2020 when Corona first happened. I personally was scared. I was freaking out. But anyways, my dad randomly hits up my sister, Mariah, that lives in a whole different city. And he's just talking mad shit to her about me. And then he starts writing me on the billionaires group chat talking shit to me because I had deleted and blocked him after I heard about him saying that I deserved to get beat up by my brother. So he messages me on billionaires and talks hella shit to me, and I'm just like, you know what, like, please go over there. And the only reason why I did call him a knack is because his wife previously had said that about him on a status. Because me, personally, I'm just like, it is what it is. Like, why are you even messaging me? Like, I'm over here trying to move on, move forward. It's like you're randomly wanting to hit me up and talk shit. Like, this is the reason why I never wanted to move in with him to begin with. So I just end up removing myself out of the billionaires group chat and just leaving it be. So then when the restaurants and everything started to open back up again, I went back to work at IHOP for a little bit and never seen my dad's wife again, and also never heard from anybody again after those messages. On June 24th of 2020, I had completed my probation by making blankets. That was accommodated for community service hours because of COVID. And then I see my dad's wife talking shit about my mom on a Facebook status. And, you know, me, her, and my sisters, we just talk privately within each other. Like, we don't pay to go see a circus. So it's like, we just laugh it off. We're just like, whatever. None of us reply. We're just like, what the hell? Like, all of this talking shit is very random. So we're just like, whatever. But I'm thinking too, I'm like, it's weird though, because last I talked to her, we were on a Kuno. So why does she feel like it's okay to talk shit about my mom that's raised me, my two brothers, and my two sisters, all five of us? Like, after she's talking shit about my mom, I'm like, to her. So I go on, and I was already making a lot of TikToks at this point, and one of them in particular had started going viral. And then I see her for a week straight just talking about me, going live, talking about me on Facebook, talking hella shit, making stories up, saying that, oh, I hit my brother first and that's why, like, I moved out. And it's like, wait. But I just don't respond. I didn't respond to any of it because in my mind, I'm like, I'm still hurt over the fact that I am not any more longer in my family's lives in that way, in my dad's side, because I removed myself because I had to. It was very toxic and unhealthy for me. I do know that her sister and her cousin moved into the room right after me. So I'm just like, am I tripping? I know I'm not tripping. So I hit her up, like, straight up. I'm like, I'm on some nosy shit. What's really good, like, with my dad's wife? Because she had brought it up on her Facebook Live that she had beat up her sister or something like that. I'm not even too sure. I just know something along those lines were said. So I hit up the sister. I'm like, yo, like, what happened? Like, how did you feel being in the house? So she hits me back and she was just like, yo, that wasn't my drama. That was my dad's wife's cousin's drama. The cousins. So I was like, okay. So the cousin hits up me and was like, yo, she said that? And I was like, yep. She said she beat up one of you two. Like, I don't even know. I haven't talked to nobody. So I'm just like, I really want to know. And really messaging them was for my own closure. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't the one that was tripping, which I knew I wasn't, but it was just like, everybody needs closure. You know what I mean? So I felt like I needed a different person's perspective that I could relate to that was also in the house right after me. And plus, I've never even talked shit about any of them. I left my private life off of social media. Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew about anything until things were brought to Facebook by my dad's wife. In the midst of all this, of all the shit talking that my dad's wife is doing on Facebook, my best friend Dejan hits me up and was like, yo, like, you see all this? And I'm like, yeah, I see it. And he was like, you're not gonna respond? And I'm like, no, I don't really care to respond. Like, I've already left them in the past, and that's the way I want it right now. So he was like getting mad. So he was like, I'm just gonna take it into my own hands. And he went on Facebook Live and was like, yo, pretty much just shut everything down. So at this point, this is February 2021. This is when I was recovering from my boob job. So I'm like living my best life. I'm like, I just got my boobs done, like my birthday just passed, like I'm living life right now. I'm doing good. I'm starting to travel again because after I got off of probation, I had started to travel. And I wasn't even living in Colorado anymore at this point. I was already in LA all the time, moving in, and then I went back to Colorado to get my plastic surgery done. So after he goes live, my brother and my dad's wife hit up Dejan, yo, I'm sorry, and all this stuff. And I'm like, they never personally messaged me. They just said they were sorry through Dejan, which to me, that's not a genuine apology. I was just like, I didn't even take it in for what it was. I was just like, laughed about it and moved on. So the next month of March, my cousin that was hanging around my brother and at the house all the time hits me up and was like, I just want to talk to you about what's been going on at the house lately. And I'm like, all right, call me. So he calls me and he tells me the inside scoop of what's really been going on since I've been gone. And I'm going to play that for you.
I mean, like, I'm not going to let these motherfuckers start influencing me into doing, like, some negative shit again. Could only be pushed so far, and these motherfuckers pretty much pushed me away too, dragging me into like some fucking drama that I have no intentions of being in. I don't like how they're going about their fucking business, you know what I mean? Like, starting shit with everyone, and this is why I want to take a step back, is because bro is making everyone look dumb. Like, she's fucking pulling everyone into this fucking drama, for one. For two, she's fucking going and like running her mouth about your dad, and like she went and told fucking this bitch that the reason why her and your dad were fighting was because she thought Luna was baby. So, you know, fuck no, that bitch still doesn't do shit.
And that's the main reason why I was mad, because she don't clean. These Chick-fil-A fucking shit all over the place.
Everywhere, dude.
It's not clean. That's why I was mad, because at the end of the day,
it's still the same over there.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Nothing's changed.
All my hard work literally went nowhere. And I don't like that.
It was all to waste. You stole my fucking idea on that. That was my fucking idea. I have a video idea.
Same with me. They stole all my ideas.
I'm not trying to dog on your fucking brother or your dad, but I'm honestly like on the point to like where I'm not gonna like fuck with them. I already knew about that shit about you fucking bailing them out. Like,
so after he tells me this, I'm just sitting here in awe, speechless. I really have nothing to say. Okay, like I already know. Like to me, it was just another form of closure through a different person that has been to the house and is around everyone. It just really proved myself even more as to why I was so grateful that I left when I did. Because if not, it would have just continued and things would have just never stopped. What really had got me though is June 8th, my sister Zanila hits me up and she calls me and I'm talking to her and I hear my dad and his wife in the background saying something, and then the phone just hangs up and then I get a text. I'm like, oh no, that right there was the last straw for me, because I'm like, they could talk shit about me all they want, they could say whatever they want to, but they are not going to stop me from talking to my sister Zanila. I'm sorry, but nobody in this world will get me to stop talking to my sister. She is little. She doesn't even understand what is going on. That was the last straw for me and what really made me want to make this video, because without me leaving, I don't think I would be where I am today, because I would have stayed if the situation with my brother didn't happen, and I wouldn't have been traveling, moving to LA, and getting these opportunities that I get. It did take me 2 years to make this video, to actually get my power back, to be able to speak my truth, because when that happens to you and your family, you become into this space of hurt. And now I've just really have moved on, and I think sharing this with you guys of the story of the beginning of where I have been. You know, I don't want anybody to say hateful things. That is not my intention at all about them, because that's not my intentions. My intention is to tell my story as to where I was, to build up to moving to LA. And that wraps it up for this video. If you have made it this far, I thank you very much. Please like, share, and subscribe. And side note, if you are in a miserable situation, please remove yourself out of it. Remember, at the end of the day, you have control over you and your situation. Whether it be family, somebody you love, it's just never worth it to stay, because in the end, people just don't change unless they want to change. Thank you again for watching this video. Till next time, bye guys.